Today's how to beat video is on how to beat players with 1500 rating. To be clear, this is having a 1500 bullet rating on chess.com. This is a rating that all three of my opponents had in this game. And I will break down step by step how I beat all three of these opponents, so that even if you are not a chess grandmaster, you'll have a pretty clear battle plan of how to beat these players in your own games. Sound fair enough? So in this position, my opponent has decided not to castle. One thing that is a common weakness of players rated around 1500 online is that they will try to attack you before their position is kind of ready to do so. And 96 getting the knight out and attacking here is already an example of that. So step one is just to build up a really solid pawn structure where it's really hard for them to attack us. And then step two is going to be taking the free pieces. Now, you might be saying, well, they're not giving away any free pieces yet. Well, just watch what happens. I think if I was playing against another chess master, I'd probably play a move like bishop e3 or knight g2 here. But in this position, I played a move d5 because I've noticed that even players higher rated than 1500 often struggle to find the right way to deal with the threats that we make. When we make a threat, we limit their options and they're in some ways more likely to make a mistake. Just out of interest, what do you think is a move that black should play in this position? You might like to let us know in the comments below to see if you did better than the 1500 player in this game. I'm going to keep their name anonymous. I mean, in theory, someone could find these games of mine on chess.com going deep down the rabbit hole, but you guys just here, for the fun and to learn a few things. So the best option would be to play knight e5 and at least keep the knight in the center. But these guys are saying, okay, let's just find a safe square for the piece and just put it there. But just because a square is not, let's say, attacked by opponent's pieces, doesn't mean that it's necessarily safe. Because after knight to b4, we now have a very strong move as white. If you've solved your tactics puzzles, you might already see what it is. And also, in the meantime, I can suggest that you subscribe to my channel if you do want to see more of these how to beat videos. I've got a bit of a series plan that I'm pretty excited about. And it won't just be on like how to beat different ELOs, but also how to beat different openings, different players, different tournaments, just a whole gamut. So since the knight is undefended, we should ask ourselves if there's a way to attack it. A move like a3 will just leave the knight just running back to safety. But what if we can give a check? So queen a4 is forking the knight and the king. They can't really block with the knight because then we'll just take it. And in the game, I just took a free piece. Now, some of you watching might be thinking, well, I can get the winning position, but I don't know how to actually win it. So here's where we get to step three, where after we've taken the free pieces that the 1500's given us, because if they're not blundering any pieces, well, they're probably better than 1500. Well, the step three is just to consolidate the position. We just make sure that our pieces are protected. We make sure that we're continually bringing a new piece into the game with each move. Maybe in fairness, maybe I should have moved my knight rather than the bishop, but the idea is still similar that we want to make sure all our pieces are out, that our king is safe. We don't want to leave any of our football players off the field. And then finally, after step three of just consolidating the position, we basically just beat back their attempts to attack us and then win the game with our extra material. Where my opponent played move b5, where his heart was in the right place with trying to attack. But unfortunately, I just still have a very good position. Notice how the only piece of mine are undefended are the bishops and the rooks. And once I castle the king, now the rooks are also protected. So it's very hard for him to attack us when all of our pieces remain guarded as such. In the game, my opponent thought he could attack with knight d3, but he just missed. I can take the bishop. These retreats are a common blind spot. And yeah, I played out some more moves. The rest was fairly straightforward. Just make sure the bishop is protected. All my pieces are protected, so he doesn't really have any fluke tactic to play on me. And this is a way in which can kind of make your life easier, not just against the 1500s, but just in general. Keep your pieces protected, and that's going to stop them being able to play a good tactic on you. And my opponent realizing he's down two pieces and the pawn did in fact resign in this position. So yeah, that's the breakdown of it. Like step one, get a really solid pawn structure. Step two, take the free pieces that they give us, as we see here. And then step three, just consolidate the position by getting all your pieces out and then turn your material bank into a win by beating back their rather feeble attempts to attack you. Let's see that in action, but let's see it from Black's point of view. And this is actually against the same player who has a chess.com bullet rating of 1534. Can use bullet games because yeah, they just I can get a lot more games in than if it was like Blitz or Rapid. So I just kind of enjoy doing that to unwind. But you'll see here, this guy's again trying to make an early attack against me, playing the King's Gambit. And as fun as the King's Gambit is, to be a Giga Chad and all this sort of thing, it's objectively not the best opening. And the move G4, I'm already saying, well, I'm not just going to just grab the pawn, but I'm actually going to attack you as well. So that if you play 95, well, now I'm going to be the one attacking your king. And it's sort of something that it didn't come up so much in the first game, but finding the way to basically attack the opponent's position, like even, a move like knight c6, sacrificing the rook, but then getting in like the big attack with like the mate threats and all of this, like it sort of shows how you can really just take control of the game by sometimes even giving back the material in order to sort of make a stronger attack. But it's a little bit more of an advanced concept, to be fair. In the game, my opponent didn't play the move 95, which would be a better way to try to attack, but he played the move bishop takes f7. And something I noticed, a lot of these players rate 1500 will often just try to attack you with one or two pieces. Not really they need to have all the pieces in the game in general for the attack to be successful. But still, there's a question of where to move our king. What do you think is the move that I played as black in this position here? And I'll have a sip of water while you think about it. I mean, that's kind of one of like the secret steps of beating these players is you have to make sure you stay hydrated so you can play your best. But jokes aside, yeah, it turns out king e8 is going to be the move. We want to keep our king as safe as possible. If they had taken my pawn, I would have just gone for the move knight to f6. Again, if you're able to defend against their attacks, it's going to be a lot easier to beat them. And the idea is that, now we can start counterattacking them. Like, as long as you can start getting in a counterattack against their attacks, that will allow you to take control of the game and ultimately convert your advantage into a win. You don't want to have them just like continually attacking you all the time. You do want to find a way to beat back their threats, whether that's with exchanges or making counter threats of your own. In the game, my opponent played the move castles, which I kind of found a little bit odd actually, because after d6, again going for the counter attack. And at this point, again, the way to beat them, we kind of covered step 4, build the solid pawn structure. Step 2, being to kind of, take the free material they give you. I mean, here we kind of combine step 1, step 2 because they played the King's Gambit. Then step 3 is to make sure we get all of our pieces out and beat back their attempts to attack. And so, the best way to deal with an attack is to attack ourselves. So we're not just defending the pawn, but we are attacking their knight. So we're not just up a piece, but we're also taking control of the game, which is something that applies even in the positions where we aren't up material. So with Rook G8, still developing the rook, but also threatening mates. And because these guys are really fixated in general on trying to attack you, a big weakness that kind of results, and it is something you also might relate to for your own games, is they're so busy thinking about what they're trying to do that they're not thinking about what you are trying to do. Meaning that if you make a good threat, they might just not see what you're trying to go for. And that's what happened here. He's still losing after Queen f3, but at least it avoids the threat of Queen g2 mate, which I did manage to execute on the board as we see here. So that was a bit of a fun example, like relatively straightforward, but same 3-step process of get a good structure, take the material that they give you, and then beat back the attack, get all our pieces into the game, and just win from there. The final game I want to share is one that I played actually against a different opponent, but one also rated 1500. It's kind of an interesting point, like in the first white game I played 1e4, but it ended up transposing back into a d4 opening. But in this game I did in fact play the move d4, and one thing you'll kind of notice a lot with players rated around 1500 ELO is that they don't really have a defense against d4. Like they usually know what to do against e4 a bit better than against d4 by comparison. So again, you can see step 1, we're building that really good structure where, my opponent's moving knight c6 is, well, it's a trigger in defense. It's not really the best opening per se. Also, you'll often see moves like knight f6 at 1500 level. Where you're just able to kind of take over the center with your pawns and just get a really good position. It is something I've got in quite a lot of my games on chess.com over the years against players around this rating. And while the knight c6 is a little bit of a different version, you can kind of see a similar idea that we now have 2 pawns in the center. We've got this really nice pawn chain. And when they play to move e5, you can see again 1500 ELO. They're trying to attack us really early without having that many pieces in the game. So you may remember from earlier in the video, well, what we should do is we should try to, beat back their attack, try to counterattack them in some way. So rather than passively defending the d4 pawn with a move like knight f3, which kind of gives black what they want with like the pins and all the pressure, like this is what the 1500 are trying to get against you. But we beat that by playing the move knight c3 and making a more powerful attack than what they're doing on us. Attack on the queen beats the attack on the pawn. So black plays the move of bishop b4, trying to pin the knights, because again, if we can push ahead and just get a really good structure, that sets us well for getting our pieces out and just taking control of the game. So he tries to keep the queen in the center, but after bishop d2, we break the pin. If you want to play a3 and break the pin that way, like that would also be quite good for white, to be fair. But it's not that I want to get my bishop developed, just develop the pieces quickly, because that was step 3. Remember, after taking the material that we just develop the pieces and win. You'll see that there's sometimes like the order might be a little bit different. Here we definitely have step 1 of having set up a really good structure for ourselves so that it's harder for them to attack us effectively. That's not going to stop them. They're still going to try to attack you anyway. And with 92, like there's a little bit of a subtlety where we don't just play the obvious knight f3. Although to be fair, if you just wanted to go here in castle, I mean, you still would have a much better position with the 2 pawns in the center to their 0. But by playing 92, we set up a few creative ideas where we can go knight f4 and kind of bring the fight to them with the fork. And again, like these guys, like they usually are not going to think in terms of, well, let's try and keep the pieces safe. They're really focused on how can they attack you. And if you put them in a spot where they can't really easily attack you, then they'll often just self-destruct. And that's kind of what happened in this game, where after queen to g5 and h4, I know h4 looks a little bit weird, but it's just kind of hard for black to find a great square. And I sort of realized that they're probably not going to play queen g4 and go into an endgame, because a lot of these guys just don't really like endgames in general. They find them a bit boring and don't really know what to do, because normally at the 1500 ELO level, the game's already decided before you get to an endgame, which actually turned out to be true in this game as well, because by refusing to go into an endgame, like now we've got the structure, now we beat back their attack, now we can take the free material that's on offer. And you might be wondering, wait, where is the free material here? If we play knight takes e6, like they take back and, it's just an exchange. But what I played in the game, and this is a moment where if you want to try and guess what I played, you can try to make your guess in the comments below, and you will find out soon enough if you played like a grandmaster or not. Now, to be fair, there's actually a lot of winning moves to white. Like, it's a nice thing about building up a really good structure and getting all your pieces in the game is that it'll give you a lot of good moves to choose from. Like, you won't have to find the very best computer move, but you could play like a second best move and still, have a winning position is the idea. But I realized here that the move e4 is just incredibly strong. And the idea is that we're just setting up this discovery with knight takes e6 and discovering attack on the queen. And you can't really move the queen to a safe square because I'm just covering it with the knight and the pawn. In the game, my opponent didn't see this threat. He castled, and 96 is just discovering the attack. And that's something as well, like I said, with these 1500 bullet players, that they're going to be thinking all in terms of what are the attacks that they can do. They're not really going to be thinking in terms of what are the attacks that you can make against them. So you're just fixate on, okay, the knight is attacking my rook, so let's just take it back. And he didn't see that, his queen is just going to be taken. And okay, from here, like you're winning with pretty much any move, but I decided to just play d5 and, just kind of go for this sort of sequence, just kind of trade off some of the pieces, not give him an easy way to attack us. And yeah, after knight to e4, he's again giving us material, and you might remember the step from before that step 2 is just taking the free material that they give us. So bc6, we even have a forced checkmate, which is in fact what I did in the game. I played the move of bishop a6 check, and because I'm doing everything with check, it also means he doesn't have time to, counterattack us with a discovered attack with the knight, because we're giving a check, and, given that we will checkmate with queen b7 on the next move, this is why my opponent with a rating of 1512 bullet on chess.com did resign in this position. So, yeah, that's the breakdown of how to beat players with 1500 ELO. Just to kind of summarize with this game, step 1 is getting a really good pawn structure where we have a lot of space and where our pawns are like really well defended, like you can see here. Step 2 is then to take the free material that they give us, which It was a little bit of a different order, but you can kind of see like I'm making sure to get the pieces into the game, which is kind of step three. But step two, just to kind of beat back their attack, take the free material that they give us, where they gave us the queen, and then step three, yeah, finally just to kind of beat back their attack, get our remaining pieces in the game, make a counter attack at the right moment, and then just finish off the game from there with our extra material. So I hope that you found this training video valuable. I mean, I sort of had experimented with content on how to beat players at different ratings in the past, but I noticed people didn't really enjoy it so much when I was kind of doing it with playing the games in real time. So I think doing it in this way, just picking out the very best examples for you guys and just, showing like the step-by-step process, I think is something you can definitely take away and apply with you to your own games as such. So yeah, I wish you best of luck playing your next game against 1500 ELO opponents. And yeah, I will see you in the next video of the How to Beat training series. As always, suggestions and ideas welcome there for what you would like to see or what you would like to see show how to beat. And yeah, I will see you in the next one. So until then, take care.